Elected to switch ends, which means that the Ferencváros players will be kicking towards their famous end away to our left-hand side. So the home supporters will not be too pleased with that.
I'm sure they won't be. I'll tell you what, to our left-hand side, it is absolutely electric with flags being waved. And I think to the right-hand side, there isn't so much atmosphere. There are fans who have just taken their seats, but they are not partaking in the excessive chanting and dancing up and down, and that those flags are being waved ferociously behind the net to our left-hand side. But Nick, it is going to be one of those nights for the New Saints, but it's one of those nights that you play the season for, you win your league for nights like this.
We do. This stadium is like a metal mesh, a bowl-like stadium, which means that the noise that's being generated from the home supporters is cascading around. It has nowhere to go, and it's going to be very, very loud during the night. 32 degrees Celsius as well for the New Saints to deal with. Their head coach, Ferencváros, so successful, is watching on the edge of the technical area away to our right-hand side. And they are flying the flag for the Cymru Premier this evening. The referee is Guillermo Quadra from Spain, and we are underway live here on BBC Radio Shropshire and on BBC Radio World Sport. And well, welcome to Budapest, the capital city split in two by the majestic River Danube. It's a sticky, sweaty, hot evening here in Hungary, and the New Saints are on the brink of history. They're just 1 win away from reaching the group stages for the first time ever. The reward is big, very, very big, and this is their biggest night in Europe so far. The New Saints are kicking from our left to right in this first half in their away strip of navy blue, and Ferencváros in green and white striped tops, white shorts and white socks. And it's the home team who attack down the right-hand side in the opening minute here at the Groupama Arena on the banks of the Danube here in Budapest. Ferencváros attack down the left with Marquinhos, the Brazilian, looks to lay back out to the fullback who comes up to support. Brad Young is fouled, and the New Saints get a free kick. Home supporters are already showing their disgust towards the referee from Spain, but I think it was a push, a free kick just outside the New Saints penalty area.
Well, you just have to stay calm, and I think Craig Harrison, who's down there already barking instructions in his shorts and his tracksuit top, he will want his side to just settle into this cauldron, this atmosphere that is hostile, and I suppose the argument is not to sit too deep.
Ferencváros concede a throw-in over on the far left-hand side. We've had 2 minutes, 0-0. This is the second qualifying round of the UEFA Champions League, and there is a Ferencváros player down injured. And the New Saints have 3 chances to progress to the group stages. They've never been in this kind of position where they are so close. Even if they lose this Champions League qualifier, they then would drop into the Europa League qualifiers. And even if they lost that, they would then be in the Europa Conference League playoffs. So 3 chances, but they'd love to do it against the Hungarian champions who won the league in the last 6 years, been in the group stages since 2019 and reached the knockout stages in Europe in the last 2 years. Here's Cisse, lays it out to the right to Makarakis as they look to take on TNS down the left. It's whipped into the near post and it's well cleared behind, and it will be a corner. That was good defending there by Bodenham. And an early corner then in front of the home supporters who are waving their flags proudly behind the goal. A group of players waiting around the D here for Ferencváros. It will be swung into the near post. Not cleared properly, but Redmond got his foot on the ball and lays it out to the left to Clark, who misplaced his pass. There will be some nerves here for the New Saints, playing in front of such a hostile, loud fan base here as Ferencváros as they attack again. Good ball into the penalty area. Here come the Hungarian champions into the back post. Free header, and still the New Saints haven't got it clear. They are panicking here inside the penalty area, and they do finally manage to get it clear, but it was Pesic, the Serbian striker, that was unable to head the ball on target.
Yeah, the New Saints have been pushed right back to their own byline. They can't clear the danger, and they can't overly commit bodies forward either, so when they do win the ball in their own third, they just can't get out of there.
The German Makrikis to Traore. Makrikis on the overlap towards the dead ball line. Crosses again. This time the New Saints do win the header with Josh Daniels, but again it comes back at them, and they are under real pressure early on here in Budapest in the sweltering heat, and it's wave after wave of attacks from Ferencváros.
Just need some composure, some shape. It's not quite panic stations. Excellent clearance from Josh Daniels when he could have panicked, but they are facing a real barrage of pressure from this home side. You look at the danger men. You've got Traore, you've also got Mekrakis, who's the right back, who's getting right forward. He's delivering balls into the box, and then you've got Marquinhos over on the other side. You've got Romans in midfield, and then that's without Pesic even getting on the ball, and he's the lead frontman. So they have key strength in big numbers, and TNS need to just gather that composure, Nick, whenever they can, and just reset their shape, because they are being pulled apart at the moment, and we've only had 5 minutes of play.
And you're listening to full match coverage with me, Nick Southall, Scott Harris as well on BBC Radio Shropshire and the BBC Wales Sport website. The New Saints, the Cymru Premier champions, the Invincibles last year, beating Desic in the first qualifying round of the Montenegro Premier League to earn this tie against Ferencváros. And it's the home team who are dominating possession at the moment. Here's Cisse, it's exactly what we expected. Makrikis, the German, out to Traore again, which seems to be an avenue that they've explored quite a bit already in the opening 6 minutes. It's goalless so far. It is the second qualifying round of the UEFA Champions League. Now, on the ball is the very talented Ramirez. Plays it out to Marquinhos. Another ball dinked into the back post from the left-hand side this time. TNS managed to get the ball clear up to the halfway line. And at the moment, everybody back in behind the ball. It looks like they are playing a 4-3-3 here, Scott, but up against very skilled operators in Ferencváros. You look at their team, they have Debuz in goal, the defence of Makrikis, Cisse, Gustavo, Ramirez in midfield, Mega, Romans in holding positions ahead of them, Marquinhos to the left, Zachariasen down the centre, and Traore to the right, and Pesic down the centre. But it's a team full of internationals, and that's what they're up against.
Well, you've got the team as well who are super flexible. You know, if your left back and your right back are playing out of position, also we break
chance down the left. Here's Marquinhos, and a good block. And the referee, I think, was looking at maybe giving a foul there, but there is Connor Roberts who's taking a knock here, the goalkeeper. Clutched onto the ball anyway, and the referee is calling the New Saints physio on. The ref is Guillermo Quadra, and of all the places to be injured, it's right in front of the ultra supporters behind the goal.
It's not where you want to go down. Just looking at the replay, I've got access with a stretched neck to the monitor, and he just landed awkwardly as he collected the ball. It was great good fortune that the ball landed at his feet, Connor Roberts, because he was left exposed. He came out of his 6-yard area to the right hand side. He would have been beaten, but it was a ball that was ricocheted back to his feet. He landed awkwardly and gathered it, and I don't blame him for making a little bit more of it, perhaps, because it just gives the New Saints a moment.
Yeah, just slow the game down at the moment, Scott.
It's been ferocious.
It's been 100 miles an hour, hasn't it? And the New Saints are really struggling to get their breath. It's shock and awe early on, and you can see some of the players, their body language just looks to be a bit tense.
And it doesn't need to be. There's still a very long way to go in this tie. This is the most difficult part, coming away from home into this arena, the heat. But the New Saints have to believe, because if you don't believe, you're not going to get anywhere. And I think that the New Saints here just need to keep their composure.
Free kick for Ferencváros in their left back position. It is 0-0 so far, 9 minutes gone here in the Groupama Arena. And they must take real heart, really, from what Klaksvik did here in the Champions League qualifier when they beat Ferencváros 3-0 here, which was a complete shock. The Faroe Island champions, and they went on to beat Ferencváros across the whole tie. So look, it is not impossible, but when we look at recent teams they played, Desic, even BK Häcken, the Swedish champions last year, for me this is several rungs up the ladder of quality. As Ferencváros again have the ball in the final third. It's a deep ball into the back post. They was looking for the rangy winger there of Traore, but it was a good header clear by Davies. But it will come back at them again. A shaven-headed Ramirez with number 99 on his shirt plays it out to his left edge once more. The referee gets in their way. Comes back to Ramirez again, 20 yards away from goal. Looks to duck back into the channel. And has support in the centre with Cisse. Mega in there too. It's on this left-hand side where they're waiting to pick open the pass. One-touch football, but it was well intercepted there by Williams helping out, but still they can't get it clear. Here come Ferencváros again, left-footed cross from Traore, and the header goes over, and that was an opportunity there. It was Romans, the Belgian, who had a spell playing for Go Ahead Eagles in the Eredivisie in the Dutch top flight, but he couldn't head it down. Fortunately for the New Saints, it goes way over the bar into the noisiest part of the arena, where they're bouncing up and down in the stands, but it is 0-0.
Yeah, probably should have done better, just caught off balance, couldn't control the ball or get the movement right to make the connection with his head, and over the bar it goes, to the relief of Connor Roberts. That has to be said.
TNS yet to really get into their stride and yet to have any meaningful possession. So their game plan of soaking up pressure, of course, is something they've had to do a lot of work on. They'll try and rigidly keep that shape, but they want to be effective on the counter-attack as well, but they just haven't had the opportunity so far as the Hungarian champions dominate possession. It comes out to the left again. Marquinhos tackled by Leo Smith, came off Marquinhos, and it goes behind for a goal kick. 12 minutes gone, 0-0. Let's get the early thoughts of our summariser, Scott Harris, and how do you see going so far?
Well, the New Saints need to stop Marquinhos on this left-hand side, because he's drawing men over to him and allowing Ramirez to get in and cause problems. So they've got to try and sort that out. And I think also in midfield they've got to try and keep possession, because there's no way they're going to connect things up top if they can't keep the ball in the centre of the park.
Brobel gives it away cheaply. That was their first chance down this right wing to attack. But they'll get a throw midway inside the Ferencváros half. They're a club, Ferencváros, famous back in the 1970s, their golden era really, when they reached the European Cup Winners' Cup final, losing out to Dynamo Kyiv 3-0. And then a year or so before that, the UEFA Cup semi-final, when they lost to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Very good tie, that one, which many people still talk about. And Ferencváros then had an aging striker in Florian Albert, who won the Ballon d'Or in 1967, the only Hungarian to win the Ballon d'Or. When you think of the legends of the game, in particular in the 50s, Scott, the likes of Puskas. I think the Ferencváros fans believe that out of all the Hungarian greats, of which there are so many, Florian Albert, a bronze statue of him outside the arena, he was one of, if not the best.
Well, Hungarian football back in that time period was massive. They were giants of Europe at a national and a club level.
Chance maybe for Mega, closed out, but now with Romans back out to his left edge, hovering around the penalty area. Clever ball flicked in. They've lost track of where it is. Davies, and they've scored. Davies was looking around and just did not know where the ball had gone, and it's a free header for Traore, and he opens the scoring for Ferencváros. And it was a case of it's behind you for Davies, but he just didn't know where the ball had gone. He had a free header, and Traore steals it and gets the opening goal.
That's what he can do. Got into a good area. It was a looping header into that 6-yard box over Conor Roberts' head, and it just snuck into the net. It was high, it was looping. Roberts was not in a good position. Curling cross in. It was a flick header. I think it was Bodenham who got his head to it, and it was flung high, but Traore met his head to that clearance, and it's just snuck in that far post, nestled into the net. And well, that's what the home fans wanted, an early lead after a quarter of an hour.
Yeah, 15 minutes gone, Ferencváros lead. It was a very poor goal for the New Saints to concede. You can see there Davies' hands on hips, and they need to keep their heads high. They know that this is going to be a real challenge in this kind of cauldron in Budapest, against the quality of this team managed by a very good manager in Pascal Janssen. But the New Saints now look to go on the counter-attack. Will it wake them up in the final third at the other end? Here's Williams. Now Clark looks for Brad Young. Decent cross in. Clark again out to Williams on this right-hand side. BBC Radio Shropshire and BBC Wales Sport website. Full match coverage for you this evening. There's a long way to go in this game, and then the return leg at Park Hall next Tuesday. Here come the New Saints. Davies out to Robble, keeps it in play, looks for Brad Young through that left channel, just intercepted there by Cisse. And the New Saints now looking to put some pressure back on the home team. Then Pass gives away a free kick just over the halfway line.
That's the first real spell that Craig Harrison's side have had in their opponent's half, and it just shows how difficult it is going to be to break down this Ferencváros side, who have that comfortable lead after a quarter of an hour. I guess that the crime in the goal was the clearance, wasn't it? High up into the air in your own 6-yard box. You have to then win the second ball. If you don't, you open yourself up, and Traore was there. He's not the man that you want in that 6-yard box. He got his head to it. He knows where the net is, and that's exactly where it ended up.
Well, to give you an idea of the kind of quality of players that Ferencváros have got, we talked about their recent history in Europe. They managed to get through the group stages in the Europa Conference League last year, and then got to the knockout stage, losing to Olympiacos. And the year before, they managed to get through the group stages of the Europa League with wins against Monaco, Red Star Belgrade and Trabzonspor, but lost to the Bundesliga side Bayer Leverkusen in the last 16. So look, this is what they're up against, and all the odds are stacked against them. They have come close in Europe in previous years, but we know that they've got 3 attempts of trying to make history this summer by reaching the group stages or the league phases now of European competitions. So they will not be judged entirely on what they do here against the Hungarian champions, who are superior opposition, but they want to give it a good go. They want to cause an upset, but But they're having to do some more defending here. Ramirez level with the edge of the TNS penalty area. Plays it infield towards Gustavo. Quick pass into the D, picked up by Redmond. Lays it back to his keeper Roberts, who looks for the red-headed Brad Young, who's already scored 3 goals in Europe so far in that first qualifying round against Desic. Foul there on Brubble. Free kick for the New Saints over on the left-hand side. Nearly 19 minutes gone. Craig Harrison talking to the 4th official from the UEFA. But a chance to get players forward, and set pieces are going to be key for the New Saints if they are to get a goal here tonight.
Yeah, at the moment it's their only avenue of hope, and Brad Young has yet to have a proper touch really, especially in the final third. You mentioned the Champions League, you have that inner circle, don't you? And Ferencváros are capable of getting into the group stages. We know that, this new group stage of 36 teams.
Redmond, a diagonal ball into the D. And it's a free kick for Ferencváros. I think it may have been Bodenham with the foul there on the D. But a free kick for Ferencváros, and the home supporters making lots of noise. We had the real joy of spending the day with some of the Ferencváros supporters, getting to know them, a bit about their club as well, taking us around the sites of the city where the club was founded, in the heart of Budapest. Member Stadium, when you get here, on the entrance there's this huge bronze eagle clutching a football which greets you, and the statues of some of the club's greats as well, just showing you the rich history that it has. Here's Traore, who goes weaving in from a wide position on the right, but he finds his path cut out by the New Saints. Here they go again. Flag stays down. Opportunity knocks maybe as it's passed out to the right, and a second goal for Traore. A real mix-up there, and unselfish play from the former Red Star Belgrade striker Pesic, because he decided to lay the ball off instead of taking the shot on, and there was Traore to slot it in. And again, a mix-up for the New Saints, who are not playing well so far. Maybe the occasion is getting to them, but they are 2-0 down after 21 minutes.
Yeah, he didn't have to work very hard there, did he, Traore, for his second? Just, well, wrapped his foot around it into the net, and TNS carved open over the top this time. And I think it was the number 8, Pesic, who held up the ball so well by the penalty spot and just, well, teed it up for Traore. There was a slight deflection on its way through by the looks, but I don't think it really blindsided Connor Roberts, who couldn't do much from such close range. And I think once you leave yourself exposed in that goal area, that 6-yard box, well, you've got little hope, have you? And you know what you don't want now is for the Hungarian champions to pull away out of sight.
Well, it's a formidable lead already here from Ferencváros, and they are all over, swarming on the New Saints. They have it again, 25 yards away from goal. They switch it out to the right-hand side to Makrikis. Traore, who's on a hat-trick already, midway through this first half. You're listening to full match coverage on BBC Radio Shropshire and the BBC Wales Sport website, under the lights here in central Hungary. New Saints have been to Hungary before, where they took a game to extra time against the then champions Videaton in Székesfehérvár, and that was very nearly a famous night for them. But this is proving to be a very difficult one for them so far. Here's Pesic again. Pask and Roberts closed out the near post, and he had nowhere to go. Goal kick, but they're hesitant, aren't they, Scott? And you can understand why. They are so good on the ball, Ferencváros, but the pace that they're playing, you know, they're scared of giving a penalty away.
There is immense quality on the left, on the right, down the middle. You've got defenders who are playing central. Well, they're being allowed the freedom to be central midfielders at times, and you know, Ferencváros are playing 2 at the back really, because the left back and the right back, you've got Ramirez and Makrekis who can just get forward, and TNS are frankly overloaded. They can't cope with the immense number of men getting forward.
Well, many clubs wouldn't cope with the quality that's on show here. We mentioned the wins that they had in the group stages over the last few years. Here they come again, down the left, into the penalty area. Another chance, it's 3-0 for Ferencváros. And it's Zachariasen who gets the goal, the Norwegian. Simple play. Got him around the back, down the right-hand side of defence, and there he was. A simple finish. And the New Saints are staring at a big defeat already, maybe. 3-0 down, and we've had just 24 minutes gone.
Yeah, it's going to be a long night, you feel. And once again, it was Marquinhos, the Brazilian, who's an absolute magician on that left-hand side. There's smiles all around us. And he was allowed to just play a low ball into the box. He was allowed to dribble into the penalty area. And Zachariasen, it was on a plate for him, who was largely unmarked on the edge of the 6-yard box. And as I said before, if you can avoid getting the ball into that dangerous area, you might have a chance. But at the moment, the New Saints just can't stop the threat. And well, what have we had? 25 minutes gone, and it's 3-0.
The former Shrewsbury man, Josh Daniels, here has a lot on his plate up against Marquinhos, the Brazilian. Such a very good player. Needs some extra support on this right-hand side because they are doubling up on Daniels at the moment. The movement is so good. I mean, we thought BK Häcken, the Swedish champions, were good in Gothenburg last year. They're nothing on what we've seen here from Ferencváros so far. They've got a very good manager who knows the new Liverpool manager, Scott.
Yeah, spent time with him back in 2020 when the Liverpool manager Arne Slot was there at AZ. So this is a manager, Pascal Janssen, who has lots of pedigree in European competition. Of course, AZ got to the semi-finals of the Conference League, what would be 2 seasons ago now, when they played West Ham. They lost out. West Ham went through, didn't they, and won it, but it was close.
A throw here for the New Saints, held in by Williams into the near post. Brobble shoots, flicked on! Oh, just wide! And that was Davies who flicked it on. And the referee's pointing over towards possibly the VAR. We're waiting confirmation here. Or is it maybe a drinks break? He was pointing towards the screen, but it looks like because of the heat, the referee has elected to allow both teams to have a drinks break. And well, very rarely you see this, Scott. I mean, it is over 30 degrees, so fair play to the referee, and it's quite right to look after the players' welfare. But boy, the New Saints will be really pleased to have this break. The physio and sports scientists for the New Saints are going around putting ice packs on the back of the players' heads just to cool them down as much as they can. The sweat is dripping off Josh Daniels and Pask that we can see in front of us. The referee is struggling in the heat here as well. So they've got an awful lot on their plate, haven't they, Scott? And what can they do quickly here, Craig Harrison, to try and shore up this defence? Because they somehow have to find a way of keeping this tie alive.
Well, Josh Daniels is having a conversation with Craig Harrison, and he's saying that he needs support in looking after the Brazilian Marquinhos, who's had it far too easy on that right-hand side. And well, he's set up a few of the goals, isn't he? And that's the problem. But I think TNS just have to try and go back to basics, look after the ball as well as they can. And they've been left in positions too many times in this almost opening half an hour where they have ball at their feet deep into their own half, and there's just no avenue. There's no outlet for them to get forward.
So what can they do then? What can they do to...
You're asking me?
I know you're probably very underqualified for that question in the Champions League football standard football. But look, they've got to find a way, haven't they?
Of course they have.
They've got to shore it up.
But because if you don't, you're going to be leaving at the airport tomorrow defending a cricket score.
Well, they've got to deal with the wingers, haven't they? Marquinhos and Traoré.
That's what I would say, and that's what I've alluded to. That, you know, you look at the number 10.
Would you change the shape? Well, sure, they've got to do something.
You might have to. I think you might have to drop a man or two deep and give Daniels. I mean, look how much space Marquinhos has got there already, and I think...
Well, you can see Williams is already, probably from that pep talk, has dropped very deep now alongside Josh Daniels. They have to get to half-time without conceding another goal. Ferencváros, on the other hand, have very different feelings, and they want to really score as many goals as they can. Half an hour gone, Ferencváros 3, the New Saints nil. You're chuckling away there, Scott.
You just look at the bench for Ferencváros, and you think if they start to get tired, there's a plentiful supply of talent in there to come on. But I don't think the heat will be such of an issue. I think they're well equipped, TNS, to deal with that. It's just the intensity. I don't think in any game, whether it's summer, autumn, winter, spring,
but
if you're under...
Coupled with the heat as well.
Yeah, well, yes.
With the tempo that they're playing, I mean,
I don't think any football team would cope with a barrage of pressure for 90 minutes, so you've got to try and dilute that. How you do that, I don't know.
Well, it's a good job you were summariser and paid to give your opinion. It's a free kick for the New Saints next to the centre circle. Send in your applications. I'll give you an email in a few moments' time. But it is a free kick here for the New Saints, a chance to get some of their taller centre halves forward. It's a question that Craig Harrison will be asking himself and the coaching staff as well. How do they try and just keep a foothold in this tie? Roberts chips it down the centre. Headed away by Cisse. Back to Daniels though. He sees the ball back in, blocked off. They'll have a throw midway inside the Ferencváros half. To start with, they've just got to find a spell of possession, haven't they? Just to take the sting out of what they're up against.
Well, as I said to you in the response to that unanswerable question, you've got to look after the ball. I mean, that's as basic as it comes, isn't it? You've got to look after the ball, and you've got to try and somehow dictate possession. I mean, as to how you do that, whether you commit more men back to look at it, it's how you move through the phases. That's the unanswerable question.
Well, Ferencváros have the ball over on the right-hand side, just behind the halfway line. Still their supporters chanting. They have somebody with a... Do you know the old loud hailers, the speakers?
Yeah.
They have somebody standing on what looks to be a very rickety piece of scaffolding. Break off here. Here's Marquinhos into a near post. And his shot's flashed across the goal. The referee's given an offside anyway, but
he's good though, Nick, isn't he?
What Marquinhos will be? He's very good,
superb. His control at his feet, his movement. He's got everything, and this is only his second season, going into his third season in European football. But what a talent!
Yeah,
and he's only 24.
As good as I think we've probably seen the New Saints come up against. I remember when they played Legia Warsaw, they came up against Michael Zero, who went on to play for Wolves and got a bad injury at Wolves. He was an outstanding winger. But look, you've only got to look back at Romelu Lukaku, a young Lukaku they played against in Anderlecht probably 15 years ago now, but that's the quality of players they come up against.
This is the realistic picture that's painted of Champions League football, and the gulf in quality between sides who are just looking to get near to that outer circle, and sides like Ferencváros who are very much looking to get into that inner circle of the top 36 teams. And on this display and looking at the squad that they have, that's a realistic target for this team.
12 minutes to go until half-time. They are 3-0 down. Traoré with 2 goals. The first after 15 minutes, then 6 minutes later doubling the lead. And then the third goal coming from Zachariasen. And, you know, it was the pressure, I think, that had built up, the momentum that Ferencváros had picked up that really did for the New Saints. Can they start playing some football of their own? They have a throw towards the corner flag on this right-hand side. We'll have full reaction to this game on both the BBC Radio Shropshire and BBC Radio Wales, Radio Cymru breakfast show tomorrow morning as well. Here's a throw for TNS to be taken by Williams. And he throws it very flat. It's headed clear by Ramirez. A misplaced challenge from Leo Smith. Here's Marquinhos. They double up on him. 3 players on him. And it should be a throw to TNS. It did come off Marquinhos. It's a throw right below our position here in front of the Hungarian national TV cameras. We're pretty much bang on the halfway line, our commentary position here at the Groupama Arena. Now Redmond looks for Young, who makes a run down the channel. They are starting to play a bit of football here, the New Saints. But they were like rabbits in headlights in the opening 20 minutes of this game.
Problem is, though, Nick, when you are pushed so far back deep, it's very difficult to overstretch yourself to then get forward. You know, how do you get those missing jigsaw puzzle pieces together quickly in midfield? And, you know, credit to Clark and Smith and Redmond, they are good, but they're not that good against this side. And as we've mentioned, this isn't a surprise. You look at a side of this quality, but frankly, it's been good finishing from them, from the host.
Well, that supporter, or composer as you call him, on the scaffolding with that loud hailer, is orchestrating the crowd behind the goal. A flurry of flags from Ferencváros being waved behind Connor Roberts as he took that kick. The ball's back into their defence with Pask. And now out wide to Bodenham. They go back to Roberts in all purple tonight. Pask again, and it does feel like the game has gone down a gear here. And the New Saints are able to finally put their foot on the ball, and it's now Ferencváros who slot back into position to make it hard to close down. Roberts picks out Brobble, good out ball. Brobble weaves his way between 2 players, gets support from Redmond through the centre circle. Clark's on the right side, Daniels on the overlap. Williams makes a break into the box. Here's Clark again, he's having a decent game. Shimmies his way to the dead ball line. Here come TNS, near post, away by Cisse, not properly though. Chance for Redmond, will he take the shot on? No, it's closed out in the end. It nearly opened up. Here's Davies, Cruyff turned into a box, shoots from Davies! And it goes over. Not a bad effort from Davies, and it wasn't quite on target, but a decent effort in the end.
Much better, and I think what Craig Harrison has said, it seems, is that they've just spread out more, and they're trying to overstretch Ferencváros now, who at times have been carved open in just the last few minutes. So I think just by pushing out and using the whole pitch will help the situation for the New Saints, and perhaps they can have some joy in their opponent's half.
Not long to go until half-time, and about 7.5 minutes. And TNS having their best spell. Here's Daniels with a throw just behind the halfway line. TNS in a change of colours in their navy blue, looks very smart. Both clubs play in green and white, famous colours of Ferencváros, as TNS go back to Roberts again in their penalty area. Look, I wouldn't put it past them getting a goal here tonight, TNS, because they have a real threat with the likes of Brad Young, Dec McManus, who's on the bench. Here's Brobble, gets it behind the defender. They're playing some good football now. They pick out Young, he chests it down, couldn't get it into the left channel. That's where he wanted to go, but again they have it. Now here's Leo Smith, and they're suddenly winning that battle. Here's Williams in towards Young, blocked on its way through a near post, and they get a corner. Oh, it's just come off Williams. The final touch came off Williams. But that was a really good move, and Ferencváros have switched off.
It was unlucky because it perhaps should have been a corner, but see what I'm saying about making space. They've pushed out and they're creating pockets where they can get into and move forward. And I think that is an instruction direct from Craig Harrison. You look at the gap when they have possession in their back line, the huge distance between Bodenham and Pask has pushed Daniels and Davis right out, and that just enables Ferencváros to not cluster in the middle and have two men out wide. So that is fundamental, I think, to putting a block on them scoring goals.
Here's the former Red Star Belgrade striker Pesic up against Roberts. Roberts kicks it clear to Daniels, but he gives it away to Marquinhos again onto his right foot. He is so skillful with both left and right foot. Looks for Traoré going for his hat-trick. His shot's blocked by Davies this time. Now Traoré, who played for Metz in the French leagues. Hot property. Back to Cisse. And Gustavo, tallest player in this Ferencváros side. Marquinhos, who's one of the smallest players. A mix-up again in defence. This time between Redmond and Bodenham. They get away with that one though. And the shot is wide.
It was Mega, wasn't it, who had his back to goal, spun round and just really controlled the ball to get a shot at the target. It was a scuffed effort that I thought might have been deflected out for a corner, but it has been given as a goal kick to Connor Roberts and TNS, who have looked better in the last 5 minutes or so. Certainly since that third goal went in, they had to change something.
Yeah, they just got hit with quality, supremacy very early on, the New Saints. But to their credit, they've hung on in there. They are 3-0 down. And it's not a case of damage limitation as such. They want to keep themselves in the tie. There is a second leg at Parkour next week on the artificial pitch, which Ferencváros will not be used to. And Clark again has room on this right-hand side. So they are getting some joy on this near right-hand side where the international press are based. And they've just stopped the game here for a head injury, it appears. And it's Marquinhos down inside the centre circle, and that's why the game comes to a stop temporarily. And again, the players getting on refreshments. We've got so many bottles of water around us here as well, Scott, but we're trying to stay hydrated as well. I remember in Videoton when James Bond was our sports editor, went out to Sekishfedovar, extremely warm there as well. We had to contend with the mosquitoes as well then. They were all over you when you were commentating, and having to keep batting them away. But luckily in this futuristic spaceship-like stadium, no such problem at all. It's a lovely stadium, isn't it? Outside, in the darkness, it's all lit up in green in the Ferencváros colours. You can see it on the cityscape. One of the landmarks here in Budapest, you've got the Hungarian Parliament. We went over to the thermal spring spa earlier to do some work, of course. We were only there for 10 minutes. But it was so tempting to dive in the water. That said, I think the thermal springs the water is meant to be quite warm anyway, so I don't think it would have cooled us down.
Yeah, tremendous heat. Enjoyed giving you a little tour earlier, but it's incredibly hot still, and local time here it's 8:45.
It's still over 30 degrees. TNS attack down the left. Davies with a heavy cross. They're playing better here, aren't they, Scott? For me, they always give a very good account of themselves in Europe, and I said to Craig Harrison at training here last night, Craig, I mean this with the greatest respect, but you are like the nearly men in Europe in the qualifiers, in that you have come so close several times with pulling off upsets and giving it away with errors, but they have gone toe-to-toe with clubs like Apoel Nicosia and Legia Warsaw in the past, and the Deaton. And that's what the quality that they have in their own team.
They need to find a goal, and if they can shut up shop at the back, get out of here at 3-1, that would be deemed a good result. But you can't see it. You do feel that Ferencváros will have that quality to take it up a notch again in the second half. You feel they're done for the first, but that crazy 10-minute spell in the first half could live on to tell the tale of this tie.
Yeah, the national TV pictures show a big close-up of Craig Harrison. We are a minute away from added on time at the end of the first half. The referee, Mr. Quadra from Spain, just glancing down at his stopwatch. But Ferencváros lead by 3-0 here. 2 goals for Traore, and the third scored by the former Rosenborg attacking midfielder Zachariasen. Pask up against him here. Pask wins the ball, but then they're quick to win that second ball, aren't they? And it's fed back into those attacking players, and that's what the New Saints have found very difficult. The transition through the thirds is so quick that if they give the ball away, all of a sudden they find themselves maybe 10-15 yards behind the play. The ball's back to their goalkeeper, Conor Roberts, under the lights here in Budapest. Daniels, good chest control by him, lovely football. Clark, they're playing the better football now of the New Saints. Robble, 4 minutes added on at the end of the first half. Can they get themselves a goal? Here's Davies, who takes it down the outside, looks for the ball in, may be for Williams, the defender hung off him. Williams left-footed, oh, he hits the bar! Williams goes so close to getting a goal back. And all of a sudden, the New Saints have some belief about them. Here's Davies on the left, and the crossbar is still rattling from that thunderous strike from Williams, who very nearly got a goal back for the New Saints. That was so close.
Well, where did that come from? But it almost went in, hit the bar from, what was it, the edge of the D, just into the penalty area. Right on the edge of the D, curling shot to the right-hand post of the goalkeeper. And the keeper was beaten, and it just off the underside of the bar and bounced down back into the turf and away. But well,
it's a wake-up call for Ferencváros, who now go on the attack. Here's Markinos, they're going up through the gears again, looking to get a goal back. A shock surely to the home team, because had that gone in from Williams, that would have given TNS so much belief going into the second half, knowing that another goal pulls them right back into this tie. A two-legged tie. They are 3-0 down, it looks like, but it has been such a good recovery from them after conceding that third goal after 24 minutes. But the last 20 minutes have been very good.
Oh, just look at how many men they have to put around Marquinhos, the Brazilian. 3 on that passage of play just to look after him. In terms of the second leg, the best joy you might have is damaging his passport. But so unlucky to hit the bar. Just didn't go in. Another, well, less than an inch lower, and that would have gone in off the underside of the bar.
Foul by Young, eager to get the ball, battling away against Ramirez. Free kick for Ferencváros. Do not give up hope on the New Saints. Arguably one of the strongest squads they've got going into Europe. Back at some of the legends they've had, the likes of Steve Evans, Scott Rusko, Michael Wilde, Greg Draper in recent years. Pask heads it, but again they lose it in that midfield. That's the key there, Scott, isn't it? But when they are winning those headers, the loose ball into midfield is just not being retained.
The problem is you've got Mega and Romans, the Belgian, in there who can burst forward like this.
Looks for a back heel to Traore, and now they kick it against the back of Romans, and they'll get a goal kick. We are nearly there. for the end of this first half.
Yeah, they burst out into a 3-0 lead, so they were flexing their muscles after a quarter of an hour in that 9-minute spell that delivered 3 goals for the home side. They don't feel the urgency to add to their total, and I guess very similar to the New Saints in the first leg of the first qualifying round. There wasn't much of a gulf in quality towards the end of that first half and into the second and during the second leg, but you just need that spell that almost undoes all of the hard work you put into the rest of the tie, and you feel that for Ferencváros they've probably done that and earned it.
Half time in Budapest, 3-0 down. Strong words from Craig Harrison to the fourth official, who believes that a couple of his players towards the end of that first half had been fouled and nothing was given by the referee. But their heads are held high as they make their way down the tunnel. They may be 3-0 down, but in the last 20 minutes, you could argue at times they were slightly the better team, and Ferencváros have taken their foot off the gas, and they could have had a goal back through Williams, a fierce strike hitting the bar. But full coverage here on BBC Radio Shropshire and on the BBC Wales Sport website at half time. It is Ferencváros 3, the New Saints 0. And let's remind you of the goals. The first coming after 15 minutes, cross from the left wing. It came into the back post. Davies, the left back for the New Saints, just lost where the ball was in the air, and then Traoré just nipped it behind him like a pantomime villain and headed the ball into the far corner to make it 1-0. And that came after a real sustained spell of pressure from Ferencváros. The second goal just 6 minutes later again. Traoré, the former Mets winger, capitalising on a mix-up in defence, wrapping his foot around the ball just next to the penalty spot to make it 2. Then the Norwegian Zachariasen with again a good finish. This time it was Pesic, the former Red Star Belgrade striker, who found the ball at his feet around about 10 yards away from goal. Could have taken the shot on, instead played the ball square, and there was Zachariasen to finish quite comfortably to make it 3. But Williams with a brilliant strike towards the end there, hitting the bar. And Scott Harris, your thoughts at the end of that first half?
Oh, just looking at the possession stats, and 60-40 in favour of the host, as you'd expect, but after 25 minutes it certainly wouldn't have been anywhere near that. It would have been perhaps close to 90% possession for Ferencváros, who really enjoyed that spell and have done the damage. The New Saints have come back into it in the latter stages of that first half. As we mentioned, hit the crossbar. But for me, going into the second half, they have to do more of the same as how they finished the first, because if they start the second half how they started this tie, then it could be a very long evening. And as we mentioned before, you look at the strength in depth on the bench, and even if the likes of Marquinhos gets tired, you look at who can come on, and there's a whole host of names who can fill that void. So that will be the real problem, is how do you cope with substitutions coming on, and who from the bench of the New Saints can shore up their back line. I think, to be quite honest with you, Nick, Josh Daniels rang the alarm bells when they had that drinks break and said, look, I need help here, I can't cope with Marquinhos. And then all of a sudden the cavalry comes in and you get two extra men.
He couldn't cope on his own, that's the thing. But he was being left exposed.
Yes.
Not his fault, it was just the fact that they needed to drop some of the extra back into the midfield, which they eventually did. But Mary Kate, such a tough start to their second qualifying round game here in Hungary. 3-0 down at half-time, showing a recovery, showing some heart, and hit the woodwork. Who knows what the second half will bring?
Well, thank you very much. Your commentary team out in Budapest, Nick Southall and Scott Harris will have second half commentary coming up very shortly.
BBC Radio Shropshire.
Niamh Ella from Albrighton, BBC introducing Artist of the Week, live on stage at Scotland's biggest festival. You can see her performance in full on the iPlayer right now, with your next dose of live music this Thursday and Saturday from 8 on BBC introducing Niamh Ella. Sugar-coated. Excellent work.
BBC Music introducing in Shropshire.
Yeah, I love the screaming on the end of that.
On BBC Radio Shropshire. Midweek Sport
On BBC Radio Shropshire.
with Mary-Kate Wheeldon.
Good evening, welcome back to Midweek Sport here on BBC Radio Shropshire. We've got Champions League coverage for you tonight. It's half time between Ferencváros on the New Saints. It's currently 3-0. They were actually 3-0 down after 25 minutes from goals from Traore and Zachariasen. But sounds like things were improving towards the end of the first half. Just got the match stats in front of me actually. It's possession-wise, Ferencváros have had 60%, TNS 40%. It's 6 shots to the 4, but the 3 on target, the 3 that matter. 3 shots on target and 3 goals. But second half commentary coming up very shortly here on BBC Radio Shropshire. There's other games elsewhere tonight in the UEFA Champions League second qualifying round. Some of these games have already finished, some are just starting, one of them hasn't even started yet. So we'll go through and I'll tell you the scores in those games. So Boba Glimt, they won 4-0 against Riga. Panavias, they lost 4-0 to Haglionia. It's Lincoln Red Imps 0, Karabag 2, and Malmo, they beat Klasovic 4-1, sorry. They're all full-time scores. Some of these two are latest scores. Applewell 0, Petrokub 0, that one's in the 89th minute though. FCB 0, Maccabi Tel Aviv 0, that game's 50 minutes in. These are all half-time scores. UE Santa Coloma 0, Midtjylland 2, Dynamo Kiev 3, Partizan 1, that's a half-time score. And it's Lugano 1, Fenerbahce 0. That game's about 23 minutes in. That kicked off at past. And an 8 o'clock kick-off over in Ireland. It's Shamrock Rovers take on Sparta Praha. That is an 8 o'clock kick-off. So they're all the games this evening in the Champions League second qualifying round. Over in Budapest, it's Ferencváros 3, the New Saints 0. But encouraging signs towards the end. But a big second half coming up then in Budapest, and we'll be going back over there shortly for second half coverage. But let's get some more sports headlines on this Tuesday evening here on BBC Radio Shropshire. And the London 2012 and Rio 2016 Olympic dressage champion Charlotte Dujardin has pulled out of the Paris Olympics on the eve of the Games. BBC Sports' Joe Curry has the details.
Charlotte Dujardin, Britain's joint most decorated female Olympian, has pulled out of the Paris Games after a video emerged showing her making an error of judgment. In a statement, the 6-time dressage medalist said she is under investigation from the International Federation for Equestrian Sports and will withdraw from all competition while this process takes place. She goes on to say, "What happened was completely out of character and does not reflect how I train my horses or coach my pupils. However, there is no excuse. I am deeply ashamed and should have set a better example in that moment." Dujardin added that her actions were filmed 4 years ago and that she is devastated to have let everyone down. BBC Sport has not seen the video in question and is currently unclear what the nature of the investigation is.
Well, elsewhere, and Andy Murray has confirmed that he will retire from tennis after playing at the Paris Olympics. BBC sports reporter Joe Curry has the details.
When Sir Andy Murray said his goodbyes to Wimbledon earlier this month, many feared that would be it for the 37-year-old. But he vowed to push on to the Olympics in Paris. Confirmation today, though, that the Games will be his final competition. In a social media post, he wrote, "Competing for Team GB has been by far the most memorable weeks of my career, and I'm extremely proud to get to do it one final time." Murray will forever be the man who ended Britain's 77-year wait for another men's champion. That was in 2013. A second title followed in 2016. With a US Open title also to his name, Murray will sign off as a 3-time Grand Slam champion and a double Olympic gold medalist. One of the greats of British sport.
Well, it's been a busy day for Joe Curry with plenty of news, and former Wimbledon champion Marion Bartoli says Murray's impact on the game continues after his retirement.
He wants to get involved into coaching. I'm sure mentoring as well. He has 4 kids at home, so I don't think he would travel 30 weeks a year. But I think having an impact through the youth and the youngs, Jodie, his mom, is very, very involved into junior tennis as well. So I'm sure Andy will have an impact into tennis in GB in some shape or form.
Paralympic triathlon champion Lauren Steadman, who said she's had a real challenge in trying to shake off the effects of COVID to get ready to defend her title at the Games. Steadman took gold in Tokyo and caught COVID in March.
I wasn't medically cleared to do any racing. We only raced last Sunday, and I haven't been able to do any of the training I would like to have been done. I haven't raced the girls. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know where they're at. So there's a lot of unknowns. I think I just have to have confidence and experience, and that actually my body will come together when it's ready to come together.
And finally, in football, Arsenal defender Jurrien Timber has told BBC Sport that seeing his teammates challenge for the Premier League title last season was a motivation during his rehabilitation from injury. Timber joined the Gunners last summer but suffered an ACL on his debut, which then ruled him out for the entire season. The Dutchman says it was a blow to get injured in his first game.
It obviously is, especially at the start, but I have to say at the same time I just moved to another club. I moved to Arsenal. Then you have to look at how lucky you are as well, and that's the way I look at it. Last year I had time to work with some fantastic physios. I had good people around me, teammates were great, so eventually was a good time for me. It's never fun to be injured, but I tried to make the best out of it.
That's Jurrien Timber there, speaking to BBC Sport.
Midweek Sport
on BBC Radio Shropshire
with Mary-Kate Wheeldon.
Good evening and welcome back to Midweek Sport here on BBC Radio Shropshire. We'll be heading back out for second half coverage very shortly. There's a slight change to the schedule this week here on BBC Radio Shropshire. Tuesday nights are usually a journey to Paris. That will be tomorrow night. That's our Olympic and Paralympic show here on BBC Radio Shropshire. So that will be coming up tomorrow night with my co-host Rio Mitchum, who is competing at the London Diamond League this weekend. We'll be hearing from gymnast Alice Kinsella, and we'll be hearing from a very special Paralympian as well tomorrow evening. Let's head back over, though, to Budapest. And let's see what the guys over there think. Scott Harris is your summariser for today's game. Scott, what do you think Craig Harrison will be saying to his team at half-time?
I think he'll be a bit upset that they had what was a mad 9 minutes in that 9-minute spell in the first half where they conceded 3 goals. Perhaps Bodenham was at fault for the first. It was a heady clearance. Did well to get his head to the ball, but it was straight up into the air in the 6-yard box and over the top to a waiting Traore who beat his man. And he steered the ball skillfully, looping it over Roberts across the face of goal and tucking it into the side netting. The second and third goals were far too easy. I think they just allowed the home side far too much space, and they were carved open. It really was too easy for them. However, it hasn't been one-way traffic, as perhaps the scoreline suggests. TNS hit the bar. They also had a really good chance that was carved out before that, and that just went narrowly wide of the post just before the drinks break. So, it hasn't been a drubbing, even if 3-0 would suggest that. But they need to come out in this second half, and they need to stretch their opponents. That's what they started to do in the latter stages of that first half, and it worked. They had joy. They hit the bar. They had shots at goal, albeit very few. But the possession stats that we mentioned, and you mentioned just a short time ago, the fact that it's 60-40, well, it didn't look like that after half an hour. It's been the last 15 minutes that has pushed that up to 40%. And you feel that they will have to do something in a similar nature in this second half to have any kind of joy to have any kind of chance going into the second leg.
We had a drinks break in the first half. Are you managing to stay cool? What's the weather like? It must be 9 o'clock there now. What's the weather like?
Well, both sets of players have come out quickly, so we are going to get back underway. So we'll hand over to Nick. But the weather is dark as you'd expect, but warm.
And with that, we'll get underway here at Budapest. Mary-Kate Wheeldon, thank you. We'll be back with Mary-Kate at the full-time whistle. That the two teams have come out slightly ahead of schedule, which has caught the host broadcasters for the national TV in Hungary by surprise. So we are with two teams out, but we are waiting for the official start time. It looks like Brad Young somehow has picked up an injury coming out of the tunnel. Either that or they've just spotted that he's got a scratch or a gash which needs to be covered up before they can get underway. But the home supporters are starting to gather their voice again. They've had their half-time refreshments of various varieties, and we are about to get this game back underway here in Hungary. The New Saints kicking from our right to left in this first half in all navy blue, and we're underway. Ferencváros in green and white striped tops, white shorts and white socks, and an early flick on down the right for Brad Young. Now here come the New Saints, 3-0 down. Williams is in round the back, looks to get past Gustavo, and they get a corner straight away. 20 seconds into the second half, and the New Saints have a corner.
Yeah, they've stretched it out from the get-go in this second half. That's what they needed to do. And it's amazing, Nick, isn't it? The supporters inside the stadium, you've got them to the left-hand side, replicate a noisy night out, and the fans to our right-hand side, well, they wouldn't be out of place in a library.
That's quite right. Here's the corner then to be taken by Ryan Brobble. Early corner into the back post. Underneath it is one of the defenders there. I think it was Bodenham again who won his head. But it's cleared by Ferencváros. Good interception by Clark, preventing the counter-attack. And it will be a throw to the Hungarian champions. The New Saints have Roberts in goal. No changes at half-time. Daniels past Bodenham, Davies in the defence. Midfield of Clark, Smith and Redmond. Up front, Brobble, Young and Williams. No changes for Ferencváros either. De Boers in goal, who is part of the Hungarian squad in the Euros. In defence, Makrakis, Cisse, Gustavo and Ramirez as the New Saints break again down the right. They're growing in confidence here. Williams looks for a foul as he slips over. It's not coming though. In midfield, in the holding roles, or holding as much as you can say that, Mega and Romans. 3 in the attack in midfield of Traoré with 2 goals, Zachariasen with 1 goal, Marquinhos, who set up pretty much all the goals, and Pesic, the Serbian striker, down the middle. So a decent start from TNS.
Yep, good opening 2 minutes. They forced the corner. It was a deep corner as well that did find Jack Bodenham, who put the ball back into the mixer, but trying to get through this Ferencváros back line is very difficult. They are watertight, and it was cleared from the edge of their own 6-yard box. But good pressure, but the hosts will not be any great rush to use any energy ahead of what will be a lengthy trip in 6 days' time.
Well, here come Ferencváros with Traoré. Back to Makrakis. Gustavo. Midway through the TNS half. Ramirez down the left channel. Into Romans. Back to Ramirez again. 25 yards away from goal. Now they cross the ball in. Taken by Roberts. And that's good defensive work by the New Saints. That's a rare occasion where they force Ferencváros into playing the ball in from deep rather than playing inside the area.
Yeah, just stopping them from going down the middle. making them stretch out and use those wings, and they're getting bodies back when they need to cope with the wingers. You look at that Ferencváros side, and with Marquinhos and Traore, Pesic as well, the Serbian. It's an incredible lineup for them, well built from the back, and in midfield you've got the added bonus of having someone as skillful as Romans, Mega and Zachariasen. So this is a very good team.
Yellow card for Williams for a foul on Ramirez. Around 18,000 packed into this stadium. A wall of noise originating from our left from the ultra supporters. That noise, because of the bowl-like shape to this stadium, just cascades all the way around it, and it generates this very special atmosphere under the lights of a European night in a very sultry Budapest on the banks of a river Danube. A long, long way from home for the Cymru Premier champions. They're trying to put up a good fight after coming under a big onslaught in the opening 25 minutes, where they found themselves 3-0 down. They did hit the bar though on the stroke of half-time through an effort from Williams. Next goal really is crucial in this tie, Scott. If TNS could get that, then who knows what they could do.
I was just about to make that point. The next goal is pivotal, not only in this match, but in this first leg, because that's where you can make a difference before you go home. If you can find the net away here, 3-1 isn't so bad, but 4-0 is awful.
5 minutes in the second half gone. Oh, good save by Connor Roberts. He's kept his side in it, surely. It's come off another player on its way through. The strike was from Traore, and Roberts got a hand onto it. It came off the Ferencváros player in the end. So a goal kick for TNS, and Pascal Janssen thought that was going in. So good work by the TNS goalkeeper. Leo Smith feeds it forward down the right, looking for Williams. Brad Young being pressure on as well. Switch it out to Cisa. Akrakis. Now to Traore. Now on this right hand side. They are so quick at moving the ball from each flank. Here's Gustavo in the centre circle. Plays it in behind. Marquinhos has got past Daniels, who didn't even know he'd made the break. That's the pace that Marquinhos has got.
So much pace. He must be able to run the 100 metres close to 10 flat, it would seem, looking at his legs going.
Another ball fed in between the defenders. This time fortunately it was Pesic on the ball, who's not as quick, and just laboured on the ball inside the area, but they do have a throw. Here's Ramirez again, back into the defensive line, but that defensive line has gained a lot of territory here. They are really squeezing like a vice TNS back into their defensive third.
They're much tighter, much tighter, and that is making a big difference. They held back, and you look back at goal 2 and 3, and there were some serious faults there, but they're just not allowing them the space, and we mentioned that time and time again in the first half. If you can't find space, you've got to make the space, and that's what they've done.
Ramirez out to Marquinhos on the left. Ramirez again, and opts to float the ball out to the right. Akrakis, 25 yards away from goal, into Traore. Marquinhos has popped up in the centre this time to Pesic. That's a good move. Lays it square to Ramirez. Dead ball line. They push there on Traore, maybe, but it doesn't matter. Traore gets the goal, and it's a hat-trick for Adama Traore against the New Saints to make it 4. And you've got to say, it's pretty tame defending to allow Traore to win the header in that position.
Yeah, you've got to cut out the danger. Traore was there with with a simple header on the edge of the 6-yard box. Connor Roberts wasn't going to save that. But you've got to stop the ball from coming in, because if Traore is there, he was queued up and beat his man straight into the net. You've got to stop that ball from getting into that dangerous area. Poor goal to concede early in this second half.
Yeah, I think they'll look back at a few of these goals, Scott, and think we've conceded a couple of bad goals tonight. Yeah, they're a good team, Ferencváros, but couldn't quite make out who it was that was marking Traore. But in a 50-50 like that, it just appeared to get out-muscled.
You get away with it when you're not playing in the Champions League, because you're going to come up against sides who don't have that quality. But when you come up against the side like the Hungarian champions who have that quality, they're going to punish you, and that's exactly what's happened. 4-0.
TNS now on the front foot and behind. You're listening to full match coverage here from Hungary, BBC Radio Shropshire, and full coverage on the BBC Wales Sport website as well. 54 minutes gone. Nick Southall and Scott Harris here as they win possession on the halfway line. It's 3 against 3. Leo Smith comes sliding in to win the challenge and prevent Ferencváros from getting through on goal once more. Here's Smith on the ball again. That's a really good interception by him. Plays it out to Clark on the right-hand side to Young. Young's return pass was nowhere near Clark and goes out for a throw-in on the far side. And a concerned look from Craig Harrison, arms folded, standing on the edge of the technical area. He's got his shorts on tonight, short-sleeved, he's got a t-shirt on as well because it is just so warm. The side are 4-0 down here, and with a lot of work to do in this two-legged tie.
Well, Pascal Janssen, the Ferencváros manager, he's wearing double layers. He's wearing a tracksuit top. I'm not sure why. It is cooking here.
It is. Here's Cisse. Maklikis was the man who nearly got through, but Brobel with a good interception. Now they look for Brad Young down the left, and the goalkeeper, who we've hardly mentioned, Dibuz, did say at the start of the second half he was in the Hungarian squad, an unused sub in their Euros, just gone in Germany. One player they are without is Barnabas Varga, one of their key players, such a talented goal scorer, their best player probably, and he was involved with that collision against the Scottish goalkeeper in the Euros, was rendered unconscious, had to have surgery, went to hospital, had surgery, and we were told he's on the road to recovery. Apparently he's already training again with the first team squad after just a few days coming out of surgery. So Barnabas Varga, a real hero, a club legend at Ferencváros, and it may be not too long until the Hungarian international is back playing once again. There are options on the bench for TNS tonight. Scott, they have the likes of Dec McManus, don't they, that can come on, Danny Williams, Rory Holden. Would you expect some changes soon?
Might not be too far away, Nick, from that happening, because there will be a lot of players on the bench who will be champing at the bit to get on and try and make an impression. You mentioned Dec McManus. I mean, in all fairness, Brad Young hasn't done anything wrong, but he hasn't had many opportunities to do any damage. So it's no discredit to the 11 out there, but reinforcements are going to be required in this heat. But from a Ferencváros perspective, they'll be wanting to rest legs and rest players who may not even make the trip next week, looking at how big their squad is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many changes they make. This is a team that last couple of years they've beaten the likes of Monaco, going to Red Star Belgrade and winning there. It's so difficult to to compete, isn't it, against the multi-millions that they have. Looking for a fifth is Marquinhos. He wants to get himself a goal. He's played so well, but he probably deserves it. He's just more and more in the centre now, Marquinhos, Scott, which provides more of a problem because TNS need to sort out who's going to do a man-to-man marking job on him, and that may release Ramirez with some room over on the left, but the ball from Gustavo goes over his head and out for a throw in the right back position for the New Saints. They are 4-0 down.
It's clear to see as well, we've mentioned quality all evening, and it's clear to see that this Hungarian side and Hungarian football is on the cusp of breaking into what we will call the all-elusive top 36 perhaps going forward, with the changes made to the Champions League going forward for this season, with the an 8-game league stage before a knockout stage, and gone are the groups, the four teams in a group of 8 groups. That's gone. It's going to be a league system across all the UEFA competitions, I'm told, so that'll take some getting used to, but it's clear to see they're on the cusp of breaking into that top tier, whereas TNS are just wanting to have that throw of the dice in any competition.
Now gone. Ferencváros 4-0 up. Appeals for a penalty and given. Williams with a foul on Zachariasen, and it just looks clumsy, and it is a penalty and a chance to make it 5. The winners of this tie will go on to play the Danish champions Midtjylland, and already Ferencváros may be starting to book their flights because they could be 5-0 up here with still half an hour to go in this first leg. It's going to be Marquinhos, who has been the man of the match so far, set up virtually all of the goals. He kisses the ball and places it on the spot. Connor Roberts is told by the referee to stay on your line. Marquinhos pulls those white and green socks over his knee and now takes a deep breath and looks up into the sky. Here is Marquinhos to make it 5 for Ferencváros, potentially. Can Roberts save it? No, he can't. Dive the right way. Marquinhos sends it high into the top right-hand corner, and it's 5 for Ferencváros.
He's having a good night, isn't he? And he takes his shirt off and holds it up to the supporters to our right-hand side, who have erupted, having seen a goal at their end. But the little Brazilian has all the magic. He's only 24, but my goodness, he is some talent. And you mentioned he's had involvement in near enough all of the goals this evening. Perhaps he deserved one, but it was clumsy to give away the penalty on the hour, and it takes the scoreboard over to 5, which makes it, well, almost a done deal. He does pick up the yellow card for taking his shirt off. He doesn't care about that. He's got his goal, he's made his point to the supporters. He got 7 goals domestically last season, and he's off the mark for the new term.
They think of the 5-0 lead that they have. There is a double change on the way for the New Saints. Holden and Williams are coming on. Off goes the other Williams that started, Jordan Williams, who just gave away that penalty. And we'll wait to see who else will be coming off. With a look of despondency from Jordan Williams, who could well have scored in the first half, and he's such a good player for them. I think he's had a decent game tonight, just unfortunate with that one. Danny Redmond comes off as well, and Williams is on. Ryan Brobble comes over to get some instructions from Chris Sargent, and they will want to find a way of preventing any more goals from going in and keeping it respectable here in Budapest. We're back underway. 27 minutes to go. Ferencváros 5, the New Saints 0. And the home supporters, is this, what do they call it? The Icelandic thunderclap, is it? They call it slow.
Going back to the Euros in 2016, I think it was. That's where it came from. It does seem as if it's a similar rendition with a Hungarian twang.
It's a bit slow.
Does build up though, doesn't it? I mean, they've got another half an hour.
They have. And so have T&S Scott, and they've got to, somehow try and come out of this with a bit of respectability.
I tell you what, if I was the manager for Ferencváros, I wouldn't be too impressed with our Brazilian friend taking his shirt off. You'll have to remind me of the rules in terms of yellow cards and when it gets wiped and reset. But you wouldn't want any player picking up a yellow card unnecessarily. So I'm not sure what point he was making with the shirt coming off. But picking up a yellow card, I'd give him a telling off for that.
Yeah, it's a silly yellow card. A special moment from Marquinhos. Ferencváros have the ball inside the TNS half again. Cisse, Pesic, the Serbian forward. It's tackled by Davies. Now Brobel back to Pask. Dos Daniels on the right hand side of defence. Back to Connor Roberts. 5-0 the advantage. We must remind our listeners on BBC Radio Shropshire and also on the BBC Wales Sport website, Scott, that the New Saints were 5-0 down against Skandia in Skopje in North Macedonia a few years ago.
Right.
And in the second leg, what happened?
Well, they took it to extra time, but this is different gravy.
5 at home.
This is different gravy though, Nick, surely.
Football's a funny game, Scott. This is a very special team. In recent years, I think these are better than Häcken.
Oh, without a doubt.
What about Copenhagen? Would you put them on a similar level to Copenhagen?
Difficult to judge Danish football. I'd probably put them on a level footing, perhaps. Certainly in terms of the coefficient. The Hungarian top division, 5 places above the Allsvenskan. So that gives you a bit of a portrait on the damage that's been done here.
You made a really good point. You know, when we think of Hungarian football, we think of Puskás, we think of Budapest Honvéd, and those glory days in the 50s. Hungary beating England as well in some of the big tournaments back in the 50s, and with the changes that UEFA have brought in, it does aid a club like Ferencváros to continue their kind of regular appearance in European group stages, but maybe not quite the Europa League and the Europa Conference League, but they'll be hoping to be in the Champions League this year proper. And the way they're playing, you wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, it's clear to see they're on the cusp of something special. They've made it in seasons gone by, and they've had successful campaigns in the Europa League and the other competitions, but the Champions League is where they want to be, and it looks as if they are well equipped to take their seat at the top table, or at least have a shot at it. Of course, a victory in this tie would put them just 2 ties away, so four games away. Two-legged ties, so they are going to be in and around that playoff for the Champions League, but almost certainly that they should be taking their place in the Europa League.
Yeah, you would think so. 67 minutes gone. The voice there of Scott Harris and Nick Southall, your commentary team at the Groupama Arena. There's Brobel with a 50-yard crossfield ball from right to left. Holden to Daniels, who gets over the halfway line, takes it out wide. Several Hungarian flags hung up behind him there with the Ferencváros logo on. They can't make any inroads into the penalty area. Ferencváros have the ball again as they pass it around in their defence. On the positive side, let's look at some of the individual performances. Who for you has comes out of this having a decent game?
I think the three in midfield have run their socks off, and even Brad Young, even though he hasn't had many touches, and perhaps he's been a little bit guilty of dropping too deep at times in that central area, but just look at him, he's still got bags of pace, he's high on the press, looking to get the ball, looking to close gaps, even though he knows that his job is to have a sniff at the other end. So, credit to a number of the TNS players. I think the back line has work to do, certainly ahead of the second leg, but largely you look at the ability that they have, combine that with the conditions, Nick, and I still think it's been a very good team performance despite being 5-0 down.
Already on a hat-trick. His shot has the sting taken out of it by Danny Williams and saved by Connor Roberts at his near post. 20 minutes to go, and it's the home side, Ferencváros, who lead by 5-0. Some of the latest scores and full times in the UEFA Champions League second qualifying round. Bodo Glimt beat Rigas 4-0. Lincoln Red Imps 0, Karabag 2. Malmö, the Swedish champions, 4, Klansvik 1, Apoel Nicosia 1, Petro Cub 0. Now, the New Saints, if they lose this tie, which looks likely, they will be dropping into the Europa League qualifiers, and they will play the losers of that game between Apoel and Petro Cub. And that's not the scoreline. Well, it's not the scoreline we expected. We expected Apoel to win, but we expected it by a bigger margin. Apoel Nicosia from Cyprus, who the New Saints have played before under Craig Harrison, but they only won by 1-0. Petro Cub, the Moldovan champions, have some internationals. Here's Markinos, hits the inside of the post, and the flag goes up for the return effort, and the 6th goal potentially will not stand. It is offside. Good work again by Markinos. But yeah, Petro Cub, who we think that the New Saints are likely to play in the next round in the Moldovan capital, do have some internationals in their team, Scott, and it's not quite the draw that they would have liked, TNS.
I think just looking at that result, I am a tad surprised that it's so narrow going into the second leg. Petro Cub will have every raised motivation going back home with just a 1-0 deficit. So it's not over there, but you would expect, as things stand, that the New Saints will be going to Moldova in what would be a fortnight's time.
Elsewhere, Steaua Bucharest 1, Maccabi Tel Aviv of Israel 1, Santa Clova 0, Midtjylland 3. Midtjylland, they'll win that tie. Dynamo Kyiv, who beat Ferencváros in the European Cup Winners' Cup final in the 1970s. They beat Partizan Belgrade 4-2, and Shamrock Rovers 0, Sparta Prague 0. And that game has just started in Ireland, so that's a good tie for the Irish team. And TNS looking to emulate the likes of Dundalk, who have reached the group stages themselves, and that is the holy grail. And they will still have 2 opportunities to get into the group stages in this campaign. There are some substitutions about to be made, 3 for Ferencváros and 1 for TNS. Dek McManus, who scored against BK Häcken in Gothenburg last year, is about to come on with 17 minutes to go, but they'll have this corner first, taken by the Belgian. Romans, number 88 on his back, headed down by Pesic, then snatched at his shot as it dropped to his feet. Brobble, who has the captain's armband now, passes it back to Josh Daniels on the left-hand side of defence. Here's Clark, back to Brobbles. Leo Smith, very congested in that midfield, but they bring it clear. Good play by Brobble. Holden's fouled behind the halfway line, and it's going to be a drinks break as well. Midway through, well, it's well over midway through the second half here, but the referee deciding to allow the two teams to have drinks at this opportunity while the substitutions take place. The Spider Cam, you may have seen at some of the big sporting events, is being used here by the host broadcasters, and it swoops down following the physios as they come on to treat Cisse, who's down injured inside the centre circle. But Dec McManus will be coming on soon, Scott.
Looks that way, and I'm surprised perhaps that he hasn't made amendments before that he did. But I mean, you look at Ferencváros, and you know, Cady's coming on. He's another Brazilian. If you thought that their hands were full with Marquinhos, well, Cady, who's a little bit older, he's just arrived from a club in Russia. He's had time in Portugal and Azerbaijan with Karabakh, so experience of this particular stage of qualifying in Europe. And Owusu, the Ghanaian international, who has also spent time in Azerbaijan with Karabakh and in Turkey. He signed for €500,000 in January of last year. He's been very useful coming off the bench. And then Andrej Botka has come on as well, the 29-year-old current Hungarian international, 27 caps for his country, a 7-time Hungarian league winner. He's played in Hungary for his whole career so far, but 7 league titles at the age of 29, that's some going. Still plenty of life in his legs for Andrej Botka. So you look at the strength in depth on the bench, and it's there, but the New Saints have to try and, well, it's damage limitation, isn't it? You don't want to concede any more. If it's 6 or 7 by full time, still plenty of time for that to happen, but plenty of time for that to not happen. It looks as if actually Marquinhos is coming off for Owusu, so there is only going to be one Brazilian on the pitch, and having 2 to look after would be would have been quite a closing 14 minutes plus stoppages. But you know, can the New Saints find a goal? They deserve a goal, and it looks as if they're making more substitutions. Alex Toth's coming on.
Well done. That was well spotted. That lots of substitutions there for Ferencváros, and Mega goes off injured. Actually, it was him that committed the foul, free kick for the New Saints after that stoppage, while they took on refreshments. The New Saints are 5-0 down, and they're back underway. Ball's out to his left-hand side. 76 minutes gone. Brobble looks for Clark. Doesn't quite get through to Clark, and he realises that he's only a few yards off there from being one-on-one against the Hungarian goalkeeper. But it wasn't to be. Falls into the defence with Gustavo. Here's where they may have changed their shape a bit as well, with Ramirez dropping into a back three with Cisse. Is that how you see it, Scott?
Yeah, Toth, who's the 18-year-old, he's been with Ferencváros since he was 11 as a youngster. So he's a product into the first team as an 18-year-old. So he will play in the hole in front of the back three, shoring up the defence as they look to perhaps flex their muscles and find a 6th goal. I don't think they're going to just stand back and be happy with 5.
Botka's on as well. He's a good player. Pesic lets the ball slip underneath his studs. Desperate to get a goal. Zachar Ryerson up there. Here's Pask on the right edge of the penalty area, back to Connor Roberts. A face a 5-goal deficit here for New Saints. Deck McManus has come on. They lose the ball. It's back through again as they thread it between the midfield and defence, but it runs harmlessly through to Connor Roberts. There will be quite a bit of added on time here at the Groupama Arena. And well, much to chew over for Craig Harrison. You can hear Craig on BBC Radio Shropshire and on BBC Radio Wales in the morning, on the BBC Wales Sport website as well. Leo Smith back to Pask, sweeps it out to his partner. Now Roberts has it on the edge of the D, urging TNS to step forward more. Here's Davies, left back. He's got Brobble inside. Davies passes it back to Roberts though. And now they recycle the ball out to the right hand side to Josh Daniels. Into Leo Smith. Smith flows it over towards Brobble. Will it bounce nicely? It does. It came off the shoulder. Here's McManus! Oh no! How's he missed? How on earth has Deck McManus missed that? 1-on-1, either side of the goalkeeper. It's a goal, and Deck McManus kicks it straight into Dibuz's hands.
He'll relive that over and over again all night tomorrow, the flight home, and all next week.
It's even worse when you look at it again. Oh no, they keep showing it on the TV screens here. Oh, it's straight at him. Raised eyebrows from the Hungarian commentators to us. And Deck McManus with his shirt gripped in his teeth, and well, yeah, what can he do? He has to move on from it. Huge shot there of I think there's a drone up above showing the stadium from the night sky, beautifully lit up on the cityscape here. The Hungarian Parliament on the banks of the Danube, Heroes Square, Buda Castle on the hill which overlooks Budapest, the famous chain suspension bridge as well, connecting both the land of Buda and the flatter areas of Pest, as the river splits the city in half. But lovely views of the stadium here, and well, that came after a very close-up of Deck McManus, who really should have buried that to at least have got a goal. But they break again down the right, looking for a consolation goal here for New Saints. They're playing some decent football at times, but all, by the looks of it, in vain. 5-0 down. Leo Smith again. McManus pulled over, went down too easily. The referee had a good look at that, Mr. Quadra from Spain, but doesn't give it. That could have been redemption there for Deck McManus, but it's not given. There is VAR here, and there is a Ferencváros player down injured. And McManus is gesturing over to a linesman as well. It doesn't look like VAR is going to be used, Scott. Now have a look at it again. We can see the replay here. It appeared to go down easily.
I don't think they're looking at it. I think he did go down far too easily, so they're not even having a look. But Deck McManus, just a few moments ago, he will relive that moment, and it's a moment that you dine off as a striker. And maybe Nicky just was guilty of not opening up his body. He attempted to, but it was straight at the goalkeeper. If you open up your body, fully open, flex, and its placement into the corner, and you would beat the goalkeeper. Sadly for Deck McManus, it was straight down the middle at him, and the keeper didn't have to move. And he will be extremely frustrated at that.
He will. Really good chance for him individually to have got on the score sheet. 7 minutes to go, plus added on time. Ferencváros down the left, leading by 5 5 goals to 0. Here's Cisse. Runs over the halfway line. McManus in pursuit. But Cisse claiming he's fouled and goes to the ground, kicking the floor and claiming that he's hurt his wrist there from McManus. Well, I didn't see anything in that at all. And you can see this in European football at times where the amateur dramatics are better than the football. But they don't need to do that, Ferencváros. And a bemused look from Craig Harrison as well to the 4th official, saying what on earth's gone on there. The referee's had a word with Craig Harrison, but Harrison was inside his own technical area, so I don't know why he's getting hot under the collar with the TNS head coach. He's well entitled to ask the question. McManus is still probably talking to Craig Harrison about the penalty shout. I think TNS think that was a strong appeal there and why VAR wasn't used. 4th official won't speak to Craig Harrison. Still Cisse receiving some treatment, but you can understand the frustration, Scott, can't you?
Extremely frustrated. Craig Harrison has to keep his cool. Dick McManus, it's not his night, and he's only been on about 10 minutes.
Yeah, and he could have had 2 goals. Well, should have scored the one and potentially a penalty the other. But
not his night.
No, it's an interesting one though when it comes to selection between Brad Young and Dick McManus. Scott,
it's good to have competition for places, for sure. I think if you feel that you're assured a starting lineup, you become assured a place rather in the starting lineup, then you become complacent naturally. And I think that's one thing that this New Saints team doesn't have, is players who perhaps feel that they can't be taken out of the starting 11. I would perhaps expect Craig to change things up to deal with the type of recipe that's being cooked up for the return leg from this Ferencváros side. They have been impressive and they are deserved winners, but the New Saints have missed golden opportunities and it could easily have been 5-2.
4 minutes to go, 5-0 down the New Saints, and Cisse is back on the pitch, and the supporters all staying here hoping to see more goals from Ferencváros. The first competitive game in charge for Pascal Janssen, who came here from HC Alkmaar with nearly a 60% win ratio. So one of the up-and-coming coaches, managers in European football, very highly respected, and getting off to a good start. They did play West Ham in a pre-season friendly last week, which ended 2-2 after Ferencváros were 2-0 up in that early on. But he's only a pre-season friendly, so you can't read anything into that. But Ramirez has the ball inside the centre circle, plays it out to the left. TNS get players back in behind the ball. Traore waiting on this right wing. He's got a hat-trick. He fancies scoring more goals to add to his tally in Europe. Still an inquest going on between Craig Harrison and Chris Sargent regarding a couple of these decisions which don't appear to have gone their way.
Surprised that they've kept Traore on, frankly, because you'd want to rest him for the second leg, but 5-0, they're not going to have any dramas thinking about next week. It's a long way for them to travel, and as you mentioned, Skendia back in, what was it, 2017, 2018 perhaps?
That long ago now.
Yeah.
It's Skopje. Well, they were 5-0 down TNS after that, which they shouldn't have been.
Well,
and then won the second leg in 90 minutes 5-0.
Yeah,
to make it 5-5.
They looked impressive, but they didn't travel well. But I can't see this Ferencváros side suffering from travel sickness.
No. Chance on Madi. Good ball down, looking for Traore, away by Davies. to the halfway line again. It has been very much a game which has been played inside the TNS half. Conor Roberts clutches on to a rare stray ball. Baker and Bradley are coming on for TNS with just a few minutes to go. Clark has gone down inside the centre circle with maybe some cramp. So you'd expect Clark to be coming off. I don't want to lose 6, Scott Duvet. You're kind of hanging on at 5, aren't you, regarding score lines when people see it. When you get over 5, it's great. But in the scheme of things, it doesn't matter really, does it? You look at the opposition that they're up against. Here comes Clark, who makes way for Bradley. And we'll wait to see who Baker is coming on for. Be a few minutes added on here. I've been listening to commentary from me, Nick Sample and Scott Harris on BBC Radio Shropshire, and tonight on the BBC Wales Sport website. So wherever you've been listening to our commentary, it's been a pleasure to have your company from Central Europe. Not the scoreline that we wanted to bring you. There have been some flashes of good play from TNS in this first leg, but when you concede 5, you can't really wax lyrical about those. Defensively, I just feel they let themselves down a bit.
I think the half, you need consistent lighting, don't you? You can't just have a few flashes in the Champions League tie, especially away from home in this hostile environment. The crowd on your back from the get-go. As soon as they came out to warm up, the crowd were on them. But can they just carve out something to make it 5-1? They'd have to do it now, though.
Here's Leo Smith. Wins it well inside the centre circle. Bradley, who's full of energy, coming on. Would love to get himself a goal in Europe. A slip by Brobble. Good interception in midfield by Williams. That was a good player. I think he's a very talented footballer, Danny Williams. Holden coming on as well. I mean, they do have strength in depth for New Saints. Pass defence into Leo Smith in the midfield. Now Holden slices the ball out, looking for Baker, and Baker picks it up from a loose bit of defending. Spread the ball out again. Here's Williams just over the halfway line, back into the defensive line. Brobble in the centre circle to Leo Smith. Now on the right, we've got Daniels. Holding. Ferencváros just holding their lines, allowing TNS to pass the ball around in harmless areas. TNS looking to break through those lines now. Here's Holden again to Williams next to the centre spot. To this near side, our commentary position on this near left-hand side. 4 of the goals coming in the first half for Ferencváros. The 5th coming on the hour. Markinos, a penalty after a clumsy challenge from Jordan Williams on Zachariasen. And a good finish by Markinos, who is clearly man of the match tonight for the home team. We are now into added on time. I can't quite see the board of how long will be added on here. Only 4 minutes, so we are nearly at the end of this game. Here's Ryan Brobble weaving his way between 3 players. Lovely ball out to Bradley, who you can pick out easily with the red hair there. Bradley, he's running really well, putting pressure on the defenders, looking to win the ball inside the penalty area. But Such is the quality on the ball for Ferencváros. Bang on cue, they give it away. The cross from Brobel doesn't reach one of his teammates. I think it was McManus who was hoping to get there, and it's brought clear into the midfield. Here come Ferencváros now. Will they get a sixth right at the end? They've got a chance, you know. Traore has scored 3 of those. Can he get a fourth? Shot from outside the area. Great save by Connor Roberts. Slow to his right-hand side to deny Robbins. Belgium midfielder. Good save by Roberts.
Excellent stop from Roberts. Got down low, made the save. The shot came in from outside the box. It's the left side of the D, and it just looping below his body, but he was down low and managed to get a hand to it. Scrambled to get the ball under his control on the edge of his 6-yard box.
And there we go, the end of the game, and the Hungarian champions have beaten the New Saints by 5-0 after the first leg here in Budapest. Declan McManus still reliving that moment when he could have scored. TNS hit the woodwork as well on the stroke of half-time. So they've had a couple of chances to have scored, but haven't taken them. I think they'll look back at this as well, where there were a couple of defensive slip-ups which have cost them very dearly, particularly in the opening 20 minutes when they found themselves so far behind in this game, Scott, and that's what hurt them so much.
Yeah, I think they'll be left to rue missed chances as Craig Harrison trudges over to do handshakes with his players and the opposition, but yeah, you look at the chances that the New Saints have carved out, and had that shot just wide of the post before the drinks break in the first half. Then they hit the bar, and then Declan McManus in the second half threw on goal near to the penalty spot, tried to open up his body, but as he did so didn't find the angle, and it was arrowed straight towards the goalkeeper, who made himself big and collected the ball easily. Those were the moments that we talk about from this first leg that had been missed, but at the other end it was that mad 9-minute spell, wasn't it, Nick, that cost them dear, 3-0, and then frankly allowed Ferencváros to put the icing on the cake for next week. And the second leg that we have to look forward to will require some deep thought for Craig Harrison on how he will approach it. Will he keep with the same starting 11? Will he mix it up? Will he throw in a few players who have been sat on that bench, Nick, and they would have been wanting desperately to make an impression from the get-go? And it'll be interesting to see how the next 6 days go.
Well, it will. The TNS players applauding their supporters high up in the gods away to our right. And the crowd, well, they're still here cheering the Ferencváros players. But it's not to be for TNS this evening. They go toe-to-toe with Ferencváros again next week at Park Hall. But already maybe eyes looking at the Europa League qualifiers, barring a miracle in Oswestry. Mary Kate Traore with a hat-trick for the home team, and a side that look like they've got the quality to go on and reach the Champions League group stages. Then that's what they've been up against. They are very good, Ferencváros, and TNS will be heading home and trying to keep their heads held high.
So a difficult night then for TNS. Will they feel like a lot of it could have been avoided?
I think it was always going to be very difficult to have come away from here with anything to try and keep the tie alive going into the second leg, Mary Kay. I think the issue was that they just weren't able to deal with that onslaught that they were put under in the opening 20 minutes or so. They were under so much pressure where they couldn't get the ball clear and couldn't settle into the game. Now, arguably, the final 20 minutes of that first half, I think they played some really good football. But it was that opening 20 minutes where they found it very hard against world-class opposition to even get the ball back, and that's where the damage was done in this tie. That's where it was pretty much lost. And this is lovely to see the TNS players getting a standing ovation from the Ferencváros fans away to our left. So there we go, Mary Kate. A difficult night.
A difficult night indeed for the New Saints, but they'll be back in action next Tuesday and we'll be here every step of the way.